Hello, everyone. This is Becky here at Aunt Beck's Creations. And of course, I started talking and Tippy had to jump up and wanted to get in the way. Baskets are all full here, buddy. You're going to have to go to another room. I heard Ann's talking about me about coming on, and I was in the middle of crimping the edges of an apple pie to get it in the oven. So there's an apple pie in the oven here. And when I finish on here, I have to put a chicken in to roast for our dinner tonight. So I guess maybe I'm doing a dry run on Thanksgiving, but doing a chicken today instead. I'm here recaking my scraps. Gotcha. Well, I was just going to work on a dishcloth and chat today. I made 2 dishcloths while waiting on the dog, and I turned around and I gave them to her groomer along with her little tip. Hi, Pam. So I'm just going to do a basic kind of square dishcloth. And what I'll do is I'll make 2 in this same yarn, not 2 live, but I'll make another one and tie them together with a piece of the same yarn into a little packet. All right. So I start with a chain of 26. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. This will give you a dishcloth that is a count of 25 across. The 26th is like a chain 1 to turn. So, because you're going to skip the first one here where this loop comes out, you skip that and go to the next. And I'm just going to single crochet in each stitch across. And an FYI, I make these dishcloths up in my head as I go along. So I'm just going to single crochet in each chain. This just gives you a real nice base. And it's the fiddly bit to get going. Once you get a few rows on, it's a little bit easier. And I thought this could be a Christmas gift idea for those crocheters out there. So the dog's been to the groomers. I've made an apple pie and put it in the oven because yesterday I bought vanilla bean ice cream, so I could do this yesterday. But then Scott said, let's go for hot sour soup and at the Chinese place. And we drove all the way there last night in the rain, and they're closed on Tuesday. We forgot that. So we turned around and we came over and we went to our neighborhood kind of pub called Murray's. And I just got some chicken wings and fries. And Scott got a Philly cheesesteak sandwich. And I brought most of my wings and my wings home. The fries I didn't bother with. We had eaten most of those. But I wasn't going to leave the chicken there because Greg will eat that. So I brought it home. And Scott brought home part of his sandwich. Just can't eat as much as we used to on this Ozempic, that's for sure. All right. I have to kind of just work at this. Yeah, the cost of cotton in the stores is nuts. I'm always thrilled when I find it in the thrift stores, especially if it's in a bag. Hi, Terry, Twisted Zones. Welcome. You're new to my channel. Hi, Mitts. The oven timer will go off in 55 minutes. And we'll see how far I am in 55 minutes. All right, so when I'm doing these dishcloths and I'm making them up, I always start with a chain of 26 because I like that size of a dishcloth. It's not huge. It's not, too small. It's like a little bit bigger than the palm of your hand, and it makes cleanup really easy. So I'm going to show you what I do here. All right, so I'm getting ready to do the second row. But what I do is I draw my loop up a little bit, and then I reach back through those 2 loops, and I grab that tail from the beginning chain and just pull it up to this row through that same opening. And then when I crochet the next row, I can crochet that tail in out of the way. So always chain 1, and then in the first stitch here, which is two stitches, you don't count the one on here, you say 1, 2. That's the first single crochet that we're going to work into. And I just pick a stitch. Hi, it's Julie, right? Green macaroni. Yay! Haven't seen you in a while. So I just pick a stitch, and the ones I've been doing lately have turned out really kind of pretty. Either I do 2 rows of single crochet, so I would do a row of single crochet, and then do a row of half double crochet, and then 2 single crochet rows, then a double crochet. It makes a really pretty dishcloth. So let's do that one. So I'm just going to do single crochet in each one across. But when you're making these up, once you learn a few crochet stitches, as long as it has the stitch has the same repeat as you started with, you know how it some of them will say must be divisible by 3 plus 2 or something like that. As long as the stitch will work into 25 stitches, because you start with a beginning chain of 26, but then the stitches across the count will be 25 because you've got to have that turning bit in there. Bernie, honey, you're going to have to lay down. Y'all want to see Bernie real quick? She got her hair done. Bernie, hey, baby, come here. Come here. Come here. Come closer. There she is. I'm sure she feels better. She's got a bunch of old lady bumps on her. Poor old girl. But she got her beauty shop trip today. So she's a pretty little blonde again. All right, you going to go look for cat food? Okay. You're not going to find any because Mom picked it up. She said, I'm going to go over here and knock these bottles of wine over that you haven't put away yet. So I'm going to finish this row of single crochet. So 2 rows of single crochet. And I know everybody has their own way of holding the yarn. I don't wrap mine around my fingers. I'm kind of holding it right here between the project and me. So I just loop it over that finger, and then I just kind of let it, I'm holding it with tension on my pinky. So periodically I have to stop crocheting because my pinky will cramp. Isn't she cute? She's getting to be an old girl. I think she's 14 or 15 now. She's up there. They said she's was having a little bit of trouble standing during the grooming, and they had to give her some rest periods. And I mean, but she's an old girl. She's getting up there. And there was a guy who brought his cat in to be groomed, and I'm like, ugh, I wouldn't dream of stressing my cats out like that. But hey, if they'll do it, they'll do it. All right. So when I do a count check, I call it, when you count your stitches, when I end here, I start there and count back to the beginning. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 is right there. Not this bit that's sticking up, but right there. All right, so chain 1, and now we'll do a row of half double crochets. That's a US term, as they say. So you're yowing and then inserting your hook, drawing up a loop, and then pull through all 3 loops. That's a half double crochet. And you just do that across. And I just keep repeating this 3-row repeat until I get to the length that I want. And what I do is when I'm getting close, I'll fold the dishcloth corner to corner to see if it's square. Because when you fold it corner to corner and make a triangle, your edges should be even if you want a perfect square. Most of my dishcloths, I just work up the square and that's it. But I have also added borders. So you can add a border around if you want to, make maybe a scallop border on them. I think if I was going to do that, though, I might make my squares slightly smaller. So instead of chaining 26, maybe I would chain 21 and then add a little scallopy border around the edge. Something else I need to make, and I think everybody would find useful, is car coasters, little cotton car coasters. They're really nice because they absorb when your cup sweats. The little cotton dishcloth car coasters are nice. And it's just like, I think a 3-row repeat in a circle is all you need to fill your drink holder. She's hoping for cat food. She keeps looking. All right. Then I'll chain 1. I'm going to pull some yarn off here. Nope, I don't use stitch markers. The only time I use stitch markers is when I'm attempting to knit, or if I'm working in a round where I don't do a join of a slip stitch and a chain 1. If I'm just doing crochet in the round without doing the connection where you just keep going around and around, then I'll use a stitch marker, but I don't use one for this kind of thing. All right. Then I'm going to do 2 rows of single crochet. And then another row of half double crochet. And I just keep doing that. Yeah, look them up, mitts. They're really easy to make. And if you make a set for a car, like our car has the 2 right between the front seats. I don't know if it has any in the back seats. But if you made 6 car coasters and then put them in a little bag of some sort, that would make a nice gift. Bernie, honey, you need to lay down. She does that old dog wandering, and when she's out in the yard, she does circles. Yes, honey, I see you. You're wanting extra loving because you got all pretty. Yes. She's so pretty today. Whoops, she just ran into the trash can. She's blind, you guys, so she's got to figure it out. Well, I hope you saw where to buy cotton yarn at Walmart in a cone. Oh, I have cones as well. I will say this, that I buy 95% of my yarn at the Goodwill or Salvation Army or a church thrift stores. I buy most of my yarn at thrift stores. When I worked at Michael's and I worked at Joann's and I got an employee discount, most of my paycheck went back into their business because I'd get the employee discount. But since I don't work anymore, I have to be thrifty. So I get most all my yarn at the thrift stores, or I'm gifted yarn. People like to gift me yarn for like projects. Like I do periodically help Lizzie Brewer with her hat challenge. Oh, I hadn't checked with her to see if she's doing that this year. She's probably already done it. But, you know, you could always ask around where you are and see if there is, you know, a cause in search of things. Make sure you know their guidelines, because I once heard somebody talking about getting things in for a good cause and they just threw the stuff out that did not meet their criteria, and that really upset me. There's no point in throwing it out. You could at least even just take it to Goodwill. Don't throw it in the trash. That's not honoring the people that worked on the pieces. And it only takes a minute to stop by Goodwill and donate this stuff. Somebody will put it to use. It needs to have a chance to live its life after somebody's put their time and effort in it. I had thought about, for this holiday season, crocheting up I'm going to do some dishcloths and some hats for my husband to take in for the community gift table, we call it. At least that's what I call it, because a lot of the people that's got a knot in it. I don't like that. I'm going to cut that out and fix that. But what most of them do is they all have gardens down out in the country. So they bring their excess in. I'm just going to cut this knot free. All right. And I'm going to go back one stitch here. And I'm just going to drop that tail. Just drop it. And I'm just going to bring this one up and draw up a loop with the new thread. And then I'll take those two tails and I'll just lay them over here and we'll crochet them in. So I told Scott, I said, we don't have a garden. So the only thing I can do is make things, and you can put them on the community table. So I'm going to make about 25 hats and some dishcloths and car coasters and that kind of thing. And then they can choose what they'd like off the table. And that way, you know, I'm giving back. All right. So I'm going to hold this loop up, and I'm just going to reach in here and pull these tails from that where I did the join up to the next row, and then I can hide those tails inside. So now we're on the half double row. So I'm going to turn and go over and go in here, and I'm just going to go over top of those two tails until they are completely buried in here. And that's how I do joins. That way you don't have hard spots where knots are. And it works. I was really surprised. At first I was like, how's that going to hold together? But it does. At least for me it has. Let me get those tails taken care of, then I can take a peek at the chat. Yeah, the car dishcloths are not dishcloths, the car coasters. They're basically, you use the same pattern as you do the reusable makeup wipes, you know, the round disc. It's the same thing. It's the same pattern. So if you wanted to make up some in the softest cotton you can find for the face cloths, you could do that, or you could just use the kitchen cotton and make them for the car coasters. So I made 2 dishcloths in about an hour and a half when I was waiting on the dog, and I went to Target and I picked up an over-the-door hanger for my son's room so he could hang his jackets and things on the back of his door. And the one they had there at Target was $16, and it's sturdy enough to hold up to 35 pounds, I think it said, which I don't think his jackets together would weigh that much, but who knows? He likes to sew patches on this vest he has. If you feel like you're getting wonky or whatever, this does, I noticed, kind of work so it leans a little bit. But if you blocked it, I don't bother with blocking dishcloths because they're going to be used to wash dishes. But isn't that a pretty, when you do the 2 singles and then a double? I think it looks pretty. Another, but like I was saying at the beginning, you can make up your own pattern. Once you learn a few stitches, just say, okay, I'm going to do 2 single crochets, half double, or I'm going to do a single, half double, and then a double, and then go back to single, half double, double. That'll give you a different texture and a different appearance. I did a bean stitch. Hi, Barbara Clark. On one that I gave to Candy, my groomer, and she was tickled with them. But you can use any stitch on these dishcloths. All right, so I'm back to just 2 rows of single crochet. I find when I try to do the whole wrap your fingers business, that's when my tension gets all messed up. I just lay it so it's over my finger, and then it just kind of rides along underneath my pinky a little bit, and I'm not even putting much tension on it. And it's like I said before, you have to find out how your hands and your muscle memory work. And what works for somebody else might not work for you. And don't stress out that you can't do it just exactly like everybody else. You have to find how your hands will work. Bernadette just sighed. I think she's put out with me. And there is one more stitch laying there that I have to pick up. All right. And then we'll do another row. But you find just get to practicing crochet, and your own muscle memory of how things will work for you will make itself known, because you'll say, oh, this is really easy. Uh-oh. Let's see. I'm glad you all could hang out with me today. And I'm kind of glad the rain has stopped, but it sure doesn't look like it's left us. It looks like it could start back up, which I'm not real pleased about, because I just spent $100 on the dog. And the first thing she's going to do, hi, Stats, nice to meet you. First thing she's going to do when she gets out there in the wet grass is she's going to roll, and then she's going to go under the shed, and she's going to roll in the dirt. And uh-oh, I think I messed myself up. No, I'm on a single crochet row. I had to look. Nice to meet you too. Oh, wow. There's that knot I cut away. We need the rain, so I'm trying not to complain about it, but it's sure unpleasant and cold when it hits you. I went out this morning to help Scott get out the door and check on the kitties outside, and water came off the roof and went right down my back. It was awful. I will say it's kind of nice in here right now because I've got the oven on and that pie is starting to smell really good. So I heard that Anne is going to get to go and be with her son and daughter-in-law and her daughter-in-law's mom, which is awesome because I didn't like it that Anne was talking about having to be alone on Thanksgiving. So that's lovely for her. And we've decided we're just going to stay home and do our own thing this year. And I told Scott, I said, I want to do a New York Thanksgiving like my grandma did. So I'm making oyster dressing. And I told you this yesterday, but because I haven't had any in a very long time, hoping I can find the raw oysters to put in the dressing and that they won't cost me, an arm and two of my toes. You live in New York? I grew up in Greene, New York, near Binghamton, not too far from Binghamton. I grew up on a dairy farm in upstate New York, a family-run dairy farm, which is out of business now. And somebody else bought our farm and they've turned it into a hunt club, I think. Which is kind of funny because when I was little, the hunters would come up from New York City to hunt. And I would hear them out in the front room because I'd hear all the different accents. When I was I think I was like 5 or 6, and I would jump out and I'd go out and they just ooh and ah over the sweet little girl that's just getting up, wandering around because I was nosy, and all the New York accents. And they'd come and they'd deer hunt or they'd raccoon hunt. My uncle didn't really like to let them out in the cornfields because they weren't always good about not plowing down the corn. All right, so we're back to 2 rows of single crochet. So yeah, I'm from upstate New York. You're upstate. I was right where it's like straight above Scranton. You have to go through Scranton, and then you when you get into New York, you go through Binghamton, and then there's Greene, and then the next town is Norwich. Well, the next major town. There's other little smaller towns like Brisbane and Unadilla and can't remember all the small towns names. I haven't lived there since 1982. Scranton, yeah. My we went to Steamtown, USA, up there in Scranton one year when our son was little. We went up to visit my uncle, one of my uncles and his girlfriend, and we went to Steamtown. That was a fun day. Greg had a blast watching them, and then they switched one of the trains in the train house where the train pulls in, and then the track, everything moves, and then he can go out in a different direction. Lived in Pennsylvania 15 years and now here 5 years. Oh, wow. Well, I moved south to South Carolina in 1982. So I've lived longer here than I lived in New York. I spent my first 18 years up there. And then I moved down here. All right. So that was our 2 rows, or was that a single row? That was just 1 row. So we need to do another row of single crochet. 2 rows of single crochet and then do a row of half doubles. So yeah, and then Scott's talking, he wants to move out of South Carolina when he retires. And he's talking about retiring in July or something like that. We'll see. In 82, my military father and family moved back to the States. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, these dishcloths are something I can do and chat. And they work up quickly, so they make a nice gift. Give me a couple hours and I can have 2 or 3 made if I'm not talking. I was listening to YouTube videos while I was waiting on the dog. Probably used our data rate up, so I'll probably run the phone bill up because we only pay for the data we use. And when we're away from the house, of course, we use more. There was a lady at the PetSmart that was telling me about her little dog. She had taken him in to just get his toes clipped because he was a short-haired dog. She said he just needed his toes clipped. All right, so we're going to do our row of half doubles now. Popping in, waiting in the waiting room. Okay. We're all doing good, I think. I'm doing good. Got the dog groomed. Got a pie in the oven. And I have one more appointment this week. So I will not be able to be in Anne's chat room until later in the day. Because my appointment's at a weird 10:10 a.m. 10:10 a.m. Isn't that the weirdest time to have an appointment? And then I'm probably going to have to sit in their parking lot until my eyes come down from dilation. I don't want to drive with them super dilated, so I'll probably just sit there in their parking lot and let my eyes get better. And I got to remember I need to make Scott an appointment for an eye exam because he hasn't had his eyes examined since we moved back down here. And you guys, that's been, 4 years? 4 years he hasn't had his eyes checked. So I'm going to make him an appointment with my eye doctor. Since he doesn't have one set up, he's getting kind of, I don't know, like when we go out to eat, I think this is from being married so darn long. He'll look at a menu and I'll say, okay, what do you want? And he'll say, what are you getting? And then I'll tell him what I'm going to get. And then he'll say, just order 2 of those. Does anybody else's husband do that or spouse? Joyce has some cotton yarn she needs to use. Well, we're talking about ways to use cotton yarn. So if you guys have any other ways, like I've been doing these quick dishcloths. And then I also did the round, which I put this pattern up, I believe. I made this. It's double thick. You just make 2 rounds and then put them together. The original pattern that I followed off the internet was this one. And look how big it is. It's huge. And then I said, well, I'll just develop my own pattern because basically you're just working increases in the round. So I just made this smaller one up. So it's this much smaller. So it fits in your hand. You could use it as a hot pad if you needed to. But I really made these for like holidays when you have like a hot casserole dish that you don't want to damage your fancy dining room table and create those wet, watery spots from the heat activating the table surface. This one is my design, and I'm doing this one as my own, just making it up as I go along. So you too can design your own stuff. All you got to do is change the stitches to ones you want to do. Moss stitch would work good for this. Bean stitch would work good for this. What are some other stitches that are just easy to do in a row? You could do, I wouldn't do too many treble crochets unless you're working over a front post, maybe 2 rows below. Like on this one, this actually has some front post work to the row below. So, and I think I did trebles on that, if I remember right. That all would show more if I used different colored yarns. But the pattern for this, I'm pretty sure, is on my community tab. If you want to make some of these double thick round hot pads. And if you did them in autumnal colors, they'd be perfect for Thanksgiving. If you did them in Christmas colors, then you could pull them out at Christmas and have your table remain Christmassy. Where did you meet Scott? Well, I was working and going to school full time. So I worked second shift at what they called a magic market, which is a convenience store. And Scott just stumbled in one night, literally, and wanted to know where the beer was. And that's how we met. He had just gotten out of the Navy, and he had moved back home with his parents until he got, set up on his own. And long story short, we ended up moving in together. Ooh, the horror of that, which there were some that thought it was an absolute disgrace that we lived together for a year. But we thought it was the best thing for us to do. Things weren't working out for me and my living situation. And Scott was ready to move out of his parents' house. He'd been on his own, basically in the Navy for 6 years. So it was a little bit of an adaptation for him to move back home. So we lived together for a year, and then we got married. And then we had Greg, and bought our first house right before we got married. And we've been together coming on 40. Well, we've already been together 40 years, if you count the year of shacking up. But our anniversary this year will be our 40th. In 2025, we will have been married 40 years, but we've been together nearly 41 years. And that is that. He's my best friend. My get into trouble partner. We go off and do things like thrift at thrift stores and go to places that most of the population doesn't go. We like to do off the beaten path adventures where you end up in some hole in the wall little restaurant that nobody ever talks about that's absolutely amazing. Or we just find some junk shop and we are, just thrilled with it. My oldest son is also in the Navy. Our son was in the Navy for a little bit. It was during the downsizing. So he went through basic training in ACE school. He's certified in HVAC, but he works maintenance right now at a alcohol distributor. And update on Greg. He's not using the cream, so he's got a bit of a scar because he doesn't want to put the cream on it. I don't know if that's a man thing. Does he just want the scar to show people? But he's healed really well. And Ms. Glow's Crochet Creations, Gloria. Hello, Gloria. Welcome. So I'm just on here just doing one of my dishcloths that I like to do. What are we doing on time? Let's see. Devin Rex comes on at 2:30. So she'll be on in a few minutes. Generally, Devin does gel plate printing. My throat's starting to hurt from talking so much. I don't usually talk this much. Yeah. Well, they keep checking him to make sure everything's okay. He had to go back out to the doctors. He got the bill. He about had a heart attack. And I said, Greg, I said, take that to your workers' comp rep and hand that over to her so she can take care of that, because he got hurt at work. So I have a feeling this is going to be a real adventure. I've never had to file workers' comp. Scott has never had to file workers' comp. We have no clue. So we have no way of giving him any assistance. I said, you need to talk to her and let her know this bill is come due and you need them to pay for it, because he was injured at work. I'm still ever so thankful that didn't go 1 inch below where it hit him, because he would have lost an eye. Yeah, and I hope they do right by him and pay that bill, because he was just so upset. And I was like, stop, just take a deep breath. Getting upset is not going to help. It'll be all right. I don't think he believed me, but he fights anxiety. Poor kid. Yep, that's what the caseworker's for. I told him, and then he keeps talking about he needs to talk to the hospital. I was like, no, give it to your caseworker. That's her job. You were assigned her. Give it to her. I'm going to ask him if he dealt with that yet when he gets home, if he's gave that or sent her a copy of it so she can get it dealt with. Scott was funny this morning. Yesterday, he had his blood work done. His A1C is 5.8, which is in normal range. 4 to 6 is normal. A 4.0 to a 6.0, and he was 5.8. So he's doing great. I have to go next week for the blood work. But he had taken the morning off, and he thought yesterday they were going to feed them all hot dogs. So he said, I don't need to take my lunch. I'll just eat that. So he got there, and the hot dog thing was today. So he didn't have any lunch yesterday. And so when he got home, and we were going to go for Chinese, but then we got to the Chinese restaurant and it was closed. And so we ended up at the pub down the street. I had pub food last night. So tonight I wanted to cook a nice dinner. All right, so we're back to 2 rows of single crochet. Now I know this isn't square, but this is what I do. I fold it so this edge meets this edge on the diagonal, and you can see how many more rows I need to do to get this to meet this edge. I still have quite a few rows, so I'm going to keep going. 2 rows of single. The aircraft is taking off really low. I'm 10 minutes from the Columbia airport, so if you guys hear planes, that's why. When they head off to Charlotte, they go right over my house. And we've been having a lot of military helicopters going over too. Yep, he stumbled into my life. He had just gone through a divorce. And so that's why we lived together for a year, because he said he wasn't really sure he was ready to try again as far as getting married. And I really needed somewhere to go. And I wanted to stay in school. And he said he would help me do that. And then, bless him, he paid for me to have all my wisdom teeth taken out because I didn't have any health insurance or anything. So he was so sweet. He paid for that. And we've been together ever since. And he's like the best partner in crime I could have ever had come across, and in life. It's kind of hard holding this up in the air, basically, because this cutting table sits higher than a regular table. That pie is smelling good. I'll have to go put the, I've got like 7 minutes. And then Devin will be on. If you're interested in gel plate printing, I don't know if I've got anybody in here that can put a link to Devin's channel in for me. I don't think I have a mod in the house. Yep. We have just the one son. We have 5 indoor cats, and then about 7 cats that are came over from the neighbors. And one, I've already caught her, and I consider her my cat, but she prefers being outside. But I got her spayed because she had dumped, at that point, 2 litters on me. And so her last litter still hangs around, and I want to catch them and get them their shots and get them spayed and neutered and just let them hang around. And so that if I keep them, that's 3 kittens and the mama. That's 4 more outside. So 9 cats that I consider are ours. I take responsibility for the ones she had under our dog's house. So I just keep trying to tame the 2 black cats. One I call Midnight and one I call Darkness. Darkness is the littlest cat. And I say, hello, Darkness, my old friend. And she just glares at me. I think it's a she. So I really need to catch her because I don't want her having kittens. Because she's old enough now that she could, I just can't get my hands on her. She's like Quicksilver. I touch her a little bit. I've been trying to touch them as they eat in the hopes that they'll warm up to me. They come running when I call. They just don't want to be touched. But I do want to get them all taken care of so we don't have any more kitten factories around. The one little guy, though, I call him Phineas. He is a sweetheart. He cuddles into my neck, and he'll be so easy. I had to take care of the dog this month. So next month, I'm hoping to actually, I might have to wait until after the floor issues are dealt with in the house because I will have to have a place to keep him in for a day or so until, he's past the surgery smell. I'll have to keep him safe because the other cats will be mean to him because he'll smell funny, and I don't want him to get hurt. So it might be January before I can get to him, but we'll see. All right. So I'm back to that. Did the 2 rows. Now I need to do the half double, but I need to get off here. But I'm going to keep doing that. 2 singles. And then a half double row, half double crochet roll, then 2 single crochet, half double, and just keep working it. And it creates this kind of a stripe. Now, if you wanted to, you could change the color and maybe just do 1 color in the 3-row repeat and then switch to another color and then switch back to your first color. And you could have a striped one. All right. Pam, thank you. So if you guys want to go hang out with Devin, she'll be on any minute now. All right. Thanks for being here. I hope you'll give this little dishcloth a go. And maybe we'll get together next Wednesday and do the car coasters because they're super easy. All right. See you guys later. Thanks for being here.